Record. Okay, awesome. Thank you everyone for joining. This is the March 2024 Dependency-Track community meeting. And first we're going to get started going over the agenda of today's meeting. So first we're going to go over project updates by Nicholas. We're going to go over some of the release updates for the project. And then next we're going to have a presentation of Cryptography Bill of Materials by a different Nicholas. And then we're going to talk about the meeting schedule and we'll end on a Q&A. So feel free to add your questions to the chat during the talk. And by the Q&A, we can unmute you and you can speak to the questions, or we can just read off your questions as we go down the list. Great. And let's get started with the project updates.
Alrighty, then I will take over. I will try to keep this brief, just to warn you, this will not be that much elaborate. First, for the release update, the next release, for everyone to remind you, the next release would be 4.11. And if you remember in the last community meeting, we said we would like to release this early February to mid-February. If you look at your calendar, you might have noticed it's already March. So we are a bit behind the release schedule or behind the release target that we set ourselves. But we are making good progress. And on the right side of the screen, you should see a snippet of the current changelog. It is quite long already. We are currently in the process of doing the final rounds of QA, doing a little bit more testing, and also merging a few more things that came in as contributions. Similar to that, like, we are not immune to scope creep. There have been a few issues that we've been working on that simply turned out to be larger. And to be useful, we need a bit more, like, they need a bit additional work, essentially. So few more things came into the mix, which also caused a few delays. But also, I really want to highlight this. We did get lots of more contributors, unusually many more. I'm not quite sure if this is a correlation between us like doing regular community meetings now, but I really hope it is, because that would be an amazing outcome of that. So again, many new contributors, even with like small contributions that really make an impact still. Very much appreciated. So thanks everyone who did contribute. That is pretty much everything for the 4.11 release. It's still to be released soon. Obviously, we cannot give like exact dates. We are just a community project, but it is really soon and we are almost there. Then for Project Hyades, which is the code name for Dependency-Track version 5.x, the upcoming version 5.x, there is something that we haven't discussed as much as we should have in the last community meetings, which is a decision we made on the technology level. I'm not sure how experienced everyone is with operating Dependency-Track, but maybe you have been running into like database issues where like fields or database columns have not been long enough to store certain values, for example, package URLs, or you have been running into index issues where indexes would not be working as expected. And all of these are just symptoms of us trying to support multiple database systems. We currently support H2, which is an in-memory database. We support MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, and PostgreSQL. And this works because we are using, or Dependency-Track has previously, historically, made heavy use of ORMs, which provide an abstraction layer over all of these things. So we didn't have to write duplicate code for all these different database systems, right? But in working on Hyades, we really wanted to address various bottlenecks of the system, performance-wise and efficiency-wise. And we noticed more and more that this abstraction layer that we currently use is just, it doesn't allow us to get the efficiency out of the system that we really want, or that we really need. If you think about it, Dependency-Track does a lot of aggregations, right, to give you reports over your portfolio. But it also has to do lots of online transaction processing, if you will. Incoming bombs being stored, vulnerabilities being registered, etc. So kind of a mixed workload here. So we came onto the ORM wasn't giving us the power we needed and the efficiency we needed. So we dropped more and more to like closer to the database. And in that, we came to the conclusion we cannot support multiple database systems anymore. it is just too much overhead. Already with the system we have, there are always like some very minor differences between MySQL and Postgres, for example. Indexes behave different, data types are different. That makes even schema management currently very hard. So we decided to focus on Postgres because Postgres is like the most open of the database systems, if you will, in contrast to the others, and it's the most supported, I would say. So instead of really trying to support 4 major database systems, we would like to focus on Postgres. And we are also looking, like, there are multiple database as a service offerings like CockroachDB or YugabyteDB, which are compatible with Postgres in the most sense. There are a few like customizations that you need to do to support these, but we really want to support these as well. So even if we just say we support Postgres, really what that means is there's a big ecosystem out there around Postgres, various software as a service offerings, various self-hosted options. So it's not like you're bound to a single database installation here. And this drastically reduces our effort needed to maintain, test, and also develop new features for Dependency-Track going forward. Because now we don't have to test with 4 databases anymore. If you think about it, you develop a new feature, and now you have to test it against 4 database systems. It just explodes effort-wise. We also we want contributions from the outside, right? And we cannot expect new contributors to support all of their code, their new additions against all these database systems, and making sure that the indexes are used properly, etc. This is just not something we can expect new contributors to do. And in some way, we can also not expect maintainers to do this as well. And also one other big point that I already mentioned is we want to ship something that works and that is optimized out of the box. You should not have to have a database administrator in your team to do all these things, to make sure the system runs efficiently. And you also shouldn't have to have a database expert that looks after indexes being used correctly, database types being used correctly, migrations working as expected. All of this should work out of the box. And really, the only way for us to do this is to reduce the scope we currently have and focus on one technology. That is the bottom line. And then for all the existing installations that use MySQL, Microsoft SQL, and H2, the plan is to provide tooling to automatically migrate from version 4 to version 5. So you will not be stuck with your current installation. The only requirement would be you need to set up a Postgres database or Postgres compatible database. Also, if for some reason there are folks out there who say we cannot run Postgres, it's not possible for us, but we really want to use Dependency-Track, please do let us know. We are still at a point where we can make adjustments. And if there's really a demand for, say, supporting MySQL, we can still make that happen. So if you have concerns, if you really need support for other database systems, please let us know. And later in the Q&A section, there will be time, but you can also, of course, reach out to us via chat, email, whatever have you, or GitHub issues even. Yep, so this is really important to us that we communicate this directly, and we haven't done this so far. Now we have. Again, if you have concerns, please let us know. Then also, if you remember, last time we advertised a few of the talks that would happen soon at that point. And one of those talks was from our friends at Citibank. They were at State of the Open Con in London, early February. And the Citibank's OSPO office talked about how they enable developers from inside to contribute to open source projects. And Citi being a highly regulated company, that can be interesting and can be complicated. So they talked about how they do that and how they enable their employees to do that. And one of the prime examples, in fact, the first open source project where they ran through all of this was Dependency-Track or Hyades in particular. So if you are in a similar situation, you want your employees to contribute to open source, but your industry, your company is under high regulations or strict regulations, this might be a very interesting talk to check out. Highly recommend. On a similar note, there was a talk by Meha and Saiba, also from Citibank, who have been huge contributors to the Hyades project, who went through the aforementioned process. And they talked about Hyades and what it can do over what Dependency-Track can offer today. If you're interested in that, again, highly recommend checking it out. It's on YouTube as well. Finally, I also gave a talk about Dependency-Track at the owasp Netherlands chapter. It's just a basic overview of the project. I also demo a few things that are new in Hyades, but it's really mostly an overview of the project itself. Again, if you are not yet tired of me talking about this project, maybe give this also look also at this talk. And that's really all from my side. Next, we will hand over to the CBOM folks. I will stop sharing my screen.
Okay, thank you. So I start sharing my screen. So this part is about this project or this work that we have done for more than a year right now. Cryptography bill of materials, and so we not suggested that we would start just with a quick introduction. Who was involved in that work or who is involved in this work in the CBOM working group. So I will start with myself. So my name is Basil. I'm at IBM Research in Zurich, working here in the cryptography group. Currently focusing a lot on topics around so-called quantum-safe cryptography. So that's topic about migration to a new generation of cryptographic algorithms. And that's how we got connected to SBOMs and CBOM. So that's for me. And we also have here, we have Niklas Kurtke. So Niklas, do you want to give a quick introduction?
Sure. So I'm working together with Basil in the same group, in the same location, a little bit more focused on developing software around the migration. And that's how I got also involved in the CBOM creation.
Thanks. And then we also have Matt here.
I've just been a opinionated coach and cheerleader along the way. So I'm very happy to see this work to come to fruition.
Thanks. And of course, Steve as well, right? Probably don't have to introduce yourself.
I'm really excited that CBOM is finally going to be a reality. So thank you all and all the contributions from IBM for all your work. Seriously, this is well done. So I'm looking forward to the presentation.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on. So just quickly about the timeline. So I mean, basically, thanks, Steve, right? I mean, you put together most of this deck, so I just made some adjustments. So I will go over that and then hand over to Niklas for the second part, basically about how we integrate CBOM with some tooling. So, but here starting quickly with the timeline. So we actually started with this work actually before December 2022 with the project at IBM Research about crypto discovery. Basically the need to collect information about cryptography and their dependencies to other software. So we quickly found that we need a unified format, right, or a model representation to be able to capture relevant information about cryptography and their dependencies. And that's why kind of, was quite naturally to borrow, let's say, Cyclone DX and its schema. So we took Cyclone DX 1.4 and extended it with notions to capture information about cryptography and open sourced that as IBM CBOM 1.0. And then we were very happy that quickly afterwards also Steve reached out and actually said, CBOM, that's something actually interesting for Cyclone DX as well, right? So we were very happy that Cyclone DX started a working group around CBOM to be able to standardize it and release it as this release, upcoming release, Cyclone DX 1.6. So main contributors, right? We just give a quick introduction and then during the last half year, we worked on many different use cases, right? What are the use cases around cryptography? Defined the anatomy of CBOM, and then finally finalized the CBOM schema, where we took as a basis our initial release of IBM CBOM. So, right, so with the next release, right, cryptography is one part of Cyclone DX, right? So one of the many different features available in Cyclone DX. So first, going over the use cases, over some high-level use cases that we considered in the working group. The first use case that maybe the most natural is talking about cryptography. What we want to do is being able to identify weak cryptographic algorithms, right? There is still, unfortunately, some use around of weaker algorithms such as MD5 or SHA-1 for hashing or DES for encryption that we need to capture. Another situation is now with so-called quantum-safe algorithms. So quantum-safe means that, I mean, it's likely that, there is a possibility that within the next, not too far future, there will be a quantum computer available that is able to hack or to break mostly asymmetric crypto algorithms such as RSA and elliptic curve cryptography. So the migration to those new algorithms that are actually quantum safe is a major undertaking. So we need to be able to capture such algorithms that are not quantum safe, and then having that captured, this helps in coming up with a prioritized remediation list about what needs to be migrated and remediated. Next, there is more and more, there is a need for cryptography asset management. So there was, I think this was in 22 already, there was a memorandum in the US published OMB M2302 that actually requires to have an inventory of cryptographic assets. And they define which systems for which systems and which software one needs to provide such an inventory. So there is this need for an inventory to be created, and that's a good use case for CBOM. Then next, there is readiness for quantum safe cryptography. There is, for example, NIST in the US has the NCCOE, which I think stands for National Cybersecurity Center of Excellence, that have working group or a project about for post-quantum cryptography. And there is a draft of SP 1838B that defines that CBOM is actually a requirement for post-quantum migration. So basically for planning about what needs to be updated to quantum safe cryptography, one needs to define a CBOM. And the NIST-SP document actually also links to our effort here at Cyclone DX to come up with this CBOM standard. So the next use case we consider are what we call here cryptographic policies and advisories. One example is the NSA last year published the CNSA 2.0 advisory, which basically on one hand defines a list of approved cryptographic algorithms that are quantum safe, and second, a timeline when certain systems need to be migrated. For example, here software, so firmware and software signing needs to support a certain list of quantum safe algorithms at latest by 2030. So a CBOM ideally helps in automating the analysis if the software and the systems adhere to such an advisory such as CNSA 2.0. So next, so far we talked a lot about cryptographic algorithms, but there is also something we call crypto material, maybe most prominently certificates, right? So certificates can pose a certain risk. For example, if we have certificates that are expiring soon, may cause system downtime if this is not noticed. On the other hand, if we have certificates that have very long validity, think about RSA certificates with a validity of 20, 30 years, there is a risk that they will be eventually vulnerable to quantum computers. So being able to express information about crypto material in a CBOM will help to reduce these kind of risks as well. And then last here is about cryptographic certifications. So yeah, cryptography is implemented, can be implemented in, for example, in software, right? But it can also be implemented in hardware, and adhering or being certified to a certain standard. For example, there is FIPS 140-3, which comes in levels 1 to 4, or there is common criteria with the assurance level 1 to 7. And so cryptographic modules can be certified under these schemes. And being able to express that in a CBOM helps to get visibility that these certifications are available. There is also a parallel effort for CycloneDX 1.6 that's attestation, so we can actually connect such, we can make use of CycloneDX attestation to attest a cryptographic certification of a CBOM that is created. So this is, in a nutshell, are some high-level use cases we considered in the working group. And so we mapped that next to what we call here an anatomy of CBOM, right? So already in our initial release, our goal of integrating concepts around cryptography was to be as least intrusive as possible. So how we did that, and also did here, was if you look at CycloneDX schema, there are components, and they can have different types, such as, I think so far there was things like library or framework. So we added a new type here called cryptographic asset, which comes with an object model called crypto properties. And here we can express different kind of cryptographic assets, where we have algorithms, certificates, protocols. Like protocols, you can think about TLS 1.3, that in turn again uses certain cryptographic algorithms, and other related crypto materials. There we put in things like keys, right? Private keys, secret keys, public keys, or tokens, so that they can all be expressed in a CBOM. So thinking about keys, one thing we also added was support for key management states that followed the definition from NIST-SP 800-57. It's basically being able to express if a key, what's the state of a key. So pre-activation through being active, suspended, deactivated, compromised, or destroyed. And this is here the CycloneDX life cycle. So any asset, any CBOM or SBOM can be produced during design, pre-build, build, post-build, operation, discovery, and decommission phase. So connecting that with key management states, we can, for example, see if there is compromised or destroyed keying material during the build phase or pre-build phase. So next, one addition or one thing that we think is quite important for CBOM are dependencies, right? Because what you want to have in a cryptographic inventory at the end, on one hand, for example, you have a library, a cryptographic library that implements a whole bunch of algorithms, maybe also weak ones like MD5. So that's useful information, right? But also, or maybe even more useful, is information about what cryptography is actually used. So for this, we added what we call here a dependency type. So there's depends on, right? So without any explicit dependency type, which would mean in this case, we have an application like Nginx that uses libSSL to provide some cryptography. And then we have a second dependency type called provides. Basically expresses our libSSL implements here TLS 1.2, but it could also implement TLS 1.3, and that is not necessarily used. And then in this situation here, we have the protocol TLS 1.2, which again uses internally a set of algorithms such as ECDH, RSA, and so on. And depending on the situation, like in operational context, right, you will have some signature, some certificates associated with TLS that again uses signature algorithms or has some public keys associated with that. So with the CBOM, we can basically express those things. So next, yeah, we have a couple of examples that I will just briefly go over. There are some QR codes here where this example can also be viewed. I mean, here is an example of an algorithm, right? So here we have AES-128 GCM, where in the algorithm properties, we capture the relevant information about it. Maybe one important thing here is the security level of the algorithm. So here we see this, the classical security level is 128 bits. And it also has a quantum security level where we can infer information about if this is quantum safe or not. Next, we have an example about protocols. So this is an example of a TLS 1.2 protocol. Yeah, where we can basically see, again, here we have the cipher suites that again link to the actual algorithms that are used. And we can make further links here to basically BOM refs about yeah, further cryptographic assets that are used here. Then here, I think that this example is about how to express information about certificates. So here we can have basically properties to express all the X509 fields. And then finally, this is an example about keys. So here we have a RSA 2048 key, right? And here we also see this, the state, for example. And yeah, one might ask, yeah, okay, how can I derive the security level from this key? I mean, this is done by this algorithm reference that again references to an asset type algorithm where we have the relevant information about the security level. So yeah, so this is all available under the CycloneDX site. So yeah, so I'm sorry we are a bit over time. So but still, if we have some time, I also want to hand over to Niklas about our tooling to capture dependencies with CBOM.
Okay, so Mabel, let me know if the time is critical, then we could also postpone it. Otherwise, I would just keep it quite short.
Let's try to keep it short because we need time for Q&A.
Okay, we'll do. All right. So as Basil already mentioned, there's a need of creating an inventory, but the first idea would be to actually look at the source code of your application. Now this talk will be a little bit application focused. So you would look at the source code to find crypto calls. but there's actually more to that to understand the whole stack of crypto used in your application. And the crucial part is to understand also which cryptography is used in your dependencies and also dependencies of dependencies. And that's actually where Dependency-Track or other SCA tools may be useful. So we tried to envision CBOM as a natural extension to SBOM, except there's also maybe a CBOM generation already on the source code level, because you want to capture the crypto code there. But as you see at the SCA point, there's also a CBOM generation similar to an SBOM generation, because you also want to capture the weaknesses and the crypto used in your dependencies, and similar to SBOM also maybe for images. And there is a way how we think that could be done that we wanted to share here. So the concept would be that there's actually an SBOM as an input to an SCA tool. And then there is the idea of having a kind of database related to CBOMs and associated with package URLs. So the idea would be that such an SCA tool could find for dependencies by their package URL the associated CBOMs and enrich the existing SBOM with crypto information to get full insight in all the dependencies. And this idea we actually kind of developed or extended to an internal dependency track version. So that's actually what we also wanted to show here. We uploaded an SBOM of Keyclock, and if you look at the dependency graph, there is like a lot of dependencies. But especially if you look at vertex core here, you see there is some crypto information now here. And then the backend dependency track goes to a database, asks for the CBOM. The CBOM is already there because we scanned it before, and it will like merge all those things together and give you an understanding of the full cryptography used. And also the second important part that also Basil mentioned is to actually check compliance. So we implemented a policy engine called OPA to allow us to check on the CBOM schema with policies if, for example, an algorithm is quantum safe. And as you can see here, the RSA algorithm is flagged as quantum safe. It's still a vulnerability because dependency-track currently only has vulnerabilities, but for a POC, it helps us to understand the capabilities and to figure out how we could maybe use the capabilities of CBOM and dependency-track to assess also quantum security. That's from my side.
Great. Thank you for that insightful presentation. Do you have any last remarks on there? Okay, great. I think we'll bring it back to Nicholas to talk about the meeting notes, meeting schedule, and then we'll move on to Q&A.
Actually, Vinod will take this over, I think.
Yeah, thanks,
Okay.
Nicholas. So I will go, so firstly, I would like to thank the CycloneDX CBOM team for joining us and doing a great presentation. It's really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to having CBOM support in a dependency track. And thanks a lot for your contribution to CycloneDX CBOM spec itself. And I know IBM is already helping with a lot, and I hope I'm not asking too much even to contribute more into dependency track, especially the CBOM support. And so quickly regarding meeting schedule, and thank you all the community members to participating the doodle poll. And so we have selected this date and time, and we would like to make it as a recurrent meeting. So going forward, we will have a monthly DT community meeting. So it's going to be the first Wednesday of the month. This time, that means 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. UTC. And but we do have, community members from all over the globe. I did receive some feedback on the time. Some members from Australia and other region, they can't make it, unfortunately. So so we need to figure it out how we can address that in future. Maybe when we have more members to join, we can find an alternative time for a different time zone to accommodate. But we are open to all your feedback, so please do let us know if you have any other idea how to improve and accommodate, rest of the world. Yeah, so we would like to have all the members to join from all over the globe. Yeah, so and thanks again for IBM to hosting these meetings and yeah, again offering WebEx session and all. And I hope the community is is happy with our WebEx meetings and session. But again, if you have any other suggestion, please do let us know so we can consider that. And there might be some changes to some of the monthly meeting based on some public holidays or things like that. We don't want to, change US their 4th of July or anything like that, right? So we may want to accommodate some of the public holidays, and some of the meetings may get rescheduled to some other weeks. So yeah, we will let you know in advance. Yeah, that's pretty much from my side. I don't want to take too much time. So we would like to give more time for Q&A. So we will jump into Q&A, and I believe Marlon already raised the hand. So please go ahead and yeah. I need to unmute Marlon. Let me, unmute Shirley.
Presentation. Regarding CBOM, I had a couple of questions. Some of them were already answered. So we still don't have a tooling, right? So your suggestion is to have like a tool that is able to enrich the SBOM, CBOM based on the libraries that are already there against the database. I think this is similar with the problem with licenses. So licenses, there's a couple of tools that also work with the database to enrich the license based on a database. So I think we can work from that and create a enriched tool that works for both licenses and cryptography.
I think that's for Nicholas and Basil, right?
Yes, so from my side, that sounds like a good idea. I still think there could be a little bit of a discussion around this concept of using a database. We had a couple of thoughts about that. Comes with some downsides, but yeah, I'm still open for better options. It's not, I think, set in stone that this will be the winning concept, but it's actually one approach to solving the problem.
Yeah, if you guys create a work group, please add me there. I would like to also be involved. Yeah, and the second question that I had was actually one that it actually touches this as well, but it was one that I was going to discuss on the last meeting. It's regarding merge. Did you consider the merging of CBOMs? Because the same issues that I see for SBOM, they can also happen with CBOM. I think the structure that we currently have for the dependencies, it's not it doesn't work well with merge of multiple files.
So, like, we encountered this problem in Dependency-Track, and this POC we did internally in IBM. And how we solved it is actually to look at it's not I think the best, but it worked in our POC. So look at the scanner. The CBOM provides you with meta information about the scanner that actually generates this one. And if it's the same, then you could just replace it. If it's a different scanner, then you could merge them together if you have components that have the similar identifier. That was our approach. As you maybe know, then you have to use different scanners to make that work. That will maybe not be the case in the future. So yeah, I don't know, Matt, maybe you mentioned also that your SBOM util will support merging. I don't know if I recall that correctly.
I mean, yeah, I'll just say that I want to take a step back. So we have to recognize that, CBOM is just one area. So every time there's a unique use case that requires a unique set of data, and I'm working on model card data concurrent with this call, some changes coming there. And we know vulnerability data is these things come from multiple sources, multiple tools, plethora of tools. So, I think that we have to look hard at merging in different categories and where it makes sense. The problem is when you do a merge, there has to be an accounting. So I think that maybe this is a higher level discussion about how we audit and attest when a merge happens and to provide guidance or best practices on how to do that. But I'll say that if you can aggregate, security, CBOM, crypto data, or aggregate model card data or whatever, that you have the option of using BOM link. So you can actually aggregate that, keep your core BOMs independent and then link to cryptographic data and a different bill of materials that can, so you don't have to manage this giant, BOM master BOM document. Everything does not have to get shoved into a master BOM. So, but I'll say my SBOM utility, and I think I'm in discussions with OpenSSF, and they have their own SBOM utility. I can't remember exactly what it's called. And I've talked to some, friends of ours here in Cyclone from Lockheed, who are championing the work at OpenSSF, and merge, not merge. What I decided to do, if you look at SBOM utility, is there's use the JSON IETF RFC 6902 format. It uses a JSON merge record type of thing, and it's not a merge, but it's a record you can actually add, concrete ability to say using JSON pointer to say add this data into here, and then discretely, add a record by record by record by record basis. Instead of trying to do a massive merge on the whole document, you can actually, it's like surgery. It's like, you can use like laser surgery and put in the extra records or data that you believe are missing. That's the approach I would take rather than a master merge.
I mean, one thing we also use in CBOM is, it's part of the SBOM is the evidence feature, right? I mean, that's where we can express things like the scanner that was used or the tool that was used to generate the CBOM, the confidence levels as well, with which we assign some values. I think that information might also be useful for merging together, right?
Great discussion. It looks like Melba has some questions that she created from the queue, and one of them is, what is the best method to first identify if an algorithm is used within a piece of software?
Good question. So our approach was first to look actually at the source code at the easiest way. Second is configurations, and third would be also to look at the dynamic execution. So looking at runtime and capture if there's anything, for example, network connections that expose some kind of algorithm and certificate that are used. And then you should actually get a quite good picture of the cryptography used.
Yeah. All right. I think it's really about combining the different stages of the life cycle of some software, right? During, in the source code, right? You can probably very well identify which cryptography is there provided, right? While at runtime, you can decide with high certainty what is actually used, right? So that's all. That's why these different stages are so important.
Okay, great. Hopefully that answered their question. Next is, are CBOM specifications finalized and released?
So the CBOM spec has been approved by the Core Working Group. It has also been approved by ECMA TC54, which is our group that standardizes Cyclone DX at an international level. So both of those approvals are in process, are complete. We expect to release 1.6 later this month. It'll probably be the last week of the month. And then that will be the official OWASP release of Cyclone DX 1.6. All the tooling is currently being updated to support 1.6. I'm not sure if all of it will be ready at the same time that we release the specification, but it's all kind of in the works. And then later in the year, hopefully mid-year or so, there'll actually be an ECMA release of Cyclone DX 1.6 as well. So at that point, it'll be an international standard.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Next question is, when would the CBOM integrate with CDXGen?
I think we don't have a CDXGen maintainer on this call, so I don't think we can comment anything on CDXGen. So if you are interested to know when it is, please raise an issue in the CDXGen repo, so Prabhu or some other maintainers from the project can reply to you. Yeah.
Great. Okay, looking through the other questions. Does CBOM is able, sorry, is CBOM able to detect custom implementation of cryptography algorithms?
I mean, the CBOM is, it is able to express, any implementation of an algorithm. So the so we have these algorithm properties, right, where this information is independent from the implementation. So even if it's a custom implementation, a custom software, you can have something like you have your software expressed, right, and it depends on, or the software provides this implementation of an algorithm, right? So that's so it can express it, right? CBOM itself cannot. It cannot detect it, so there is some tooling needed to do that, but it can express it.
Great, thank you. It looks like that's most of the questions. Many of them were answered in the chat. It looks like one might have been missed. So a change from the CBOM questions, how do you deal with reoccurring false positives in DevOps automated builds? I think this is for Dependency-Track in general.
Sorry, I guess it depends. Depends on your use case. So one option you have in Dependency-Track is you can use VEX. So you can prepare a Cyclone DX file that then tells Dependency-Track, hey, this vulnerability does not affect us. Please suppress it. So that works. You can upload your BOM, then you can upload the VEX, and the vulnerability would be suppressed. That being said, there could be more automation around that from Dependency-Track itself. At the moment, it's kind of a manual process still to upload the VEX file. But there's work undergoing with the Cyclone DX project to make VEX discoverable. I hope I'm not saying too much here. So that is soon to arrive, I hope. The other option you have is in Project Hyades, which we talked about earlier. We have introduced something we call vulnerability policies, which is just similar to OPA, like Open Policy Agent. You can write policies that essentially evaluate true or false, so you can match on various conditions. And then you can basically apply what VEX can give you. So you can also say, I'm not affected because XYZ, please suppress, or please mark as not affected because XYZ, etc. So there are multiple options you have right now, and there are multiple options soon to come. I hope that answers your question. I'm happy to elaborate more if needed.
Yeah, just want to add, Nicola, and there is always an option to manually triage it if you are interested. If you don't like automation, there is always manual triage option. Yeah.
True. I was kind of assuming because you were saying DevSecOps, manual effort would not be so good. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, looks like people were excited by that answer. So it looks like, oh, then one more question came in. Does Cyclone DX, is it able to express modes of operations like AES, IGE?
Yes, we have for block ciphers, we have a mode of operations property. Yes.
Great, thank you. So another one is, what is the best method to first identify if an algorithm is used within a piece of software? Was this answered already? I think it might have been answered already. Okay.
Nicolas answered that like before, yeah.
Okay.
The second part of the question is maybe also interesting, like if it's a manual process right now or if there's existing tooling. I think when there will be the release of 1.6 tooling will hopefully eventually arrive around that to not hand by hand. So you don't have to do it manually. That's what I wanted to say. Hopefully.
Great. It looks like that's all the questions. So I think now it's time to wrap up. So thank you everyone for joining. There's a lot of features coming up and a lot of exciting developments. So make sure to tune into the next community meeting. I want to make a plug for the survey when everyone leaves. Make sure to fill that out. We want to hear your thoughts, things good and bad. We want to hear from you. Any other remarks before we wrap up?
I think there was a last minute question, Caroline, like I think, yeah, does CBOM able to express white box cryptography?
Okay, yes, we'll have that as the closing question.
Yeah, good question. I mean, you can, yes. I mean, basically, you can express any algorithm. So we don't have a specific primitive. We have a list of primitives, right? Like block ciphers, string ciphers, and so on. That can be extended in the future as well. So then with other primitives.
Great, thank you. All right, yeah, for other questions you have now or after this meeting, there's always the Project Dependency Track channel on Slack, so feel free to reach out there. We're happy to answer your questions. So thank you everyone who presented and attended, and we'll talk to you next time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Bye.
Thank you.